Greek mythology, you probably remember this character by the name of Atlas. Atlas was one of the members of the Titans. These were the older gods, and they kind of came into conflict with the younger gods, the Olympians. The Olympians had the famous gods like Zeus and Poseidon and Hades, right? And so there was this big battle, and the Titans lost, and the Olympians took over, and the Titans had to kind of pay the price. And Atlas's price that he had to pay was that for eternity, he had to hold up the heavens, all the skies. Right? Just to think about this poor guy. There he is, holding up the heavens. Right? There's actually a sort of a misconception that sometimes you might see Atlas holding up the earth, but he actually is holding up the heavens. I'd rather be holding up the earth, because the heavens, that's pretty heavy-duty stuff. And so there he is for eternity, groaning and just holding up this great weight over him. And we might say, well, that's Atlas, right? But maybe we might find something about Atlas that's true about our own lives. Maybe we're struggling. Maybe we're under a lot of pressure. Maybe we're holding up what seems like the weight of the heavens in our own lives. There's so many different ways that this can happen to us. Of course, if you're one of those kinds of people living in the suburbs that wants to keep up with the Joneses, your life is a constant treadmill of, I got to be better than the next person. I got to be better than the next person, right? I mean, we shouldn't want to be that way, right? A little too much materialism. But what about those of us, if those of us who are still working? A lot of us work fast-paced jobs, good jobs, doing good work. But those days are very hectic, very busy. And perhaps we're also raising a family. There's a lot of pressure. Certainly if there's one person who's kind of working and the other person's maybe at home taking care of the family, just all the dynamics that happen in a household in those situations, very difficult, a lot of pressure. Then there are those single parents. For whatever reason, they're in that position. Now they got to do everything themselves. The weight is kind of double on them as they try to care for themselves and their families. And we certainly encounter a lot of these difficult moments in our lives of illness, death of loved ones, financial difficulties, so many different things, broken relationships. Sometimes it feels like, the weight is just on us, and it's up to us to try to find a way out of this, and it's just the pressure all the time. Maybe you're in a position like that right now, or maybe you've recently had to deal with that. Inner turmoil is really what it creates, right? There's no peace within ourselves because of these pressures that we have, whatever's going on in our lives. So we have the Beatitudes from Matthew chapter 5. I picked 3 distinct portions of that to kind of tie it together, because I think it really fits in well with this theme that we're thinking about tonight, power in the Lord's peace. And that first famous bit, blessed are the poor in spirit. Who are the poor in spirit? It's kind of an interesting kind of a phrase, right? I think we can think of the poor in spirit, all of those people who really are trying hard to get God into the center of their lives, to push away materialism, to push away all those things that really don't matter, because it's really God who matters, right? So we recognize that we're poor in spirit because we kind of need to fill ourselves up with God's Spirit. And God's with us. He agrees. He's ready to fill us with that Spirit, because that's what leads to inner peace. When we're filled with the Spirit, we can have inner peace. And you have to work at it, because it's not like, you're peaceful this one day and the next day and you kind of can just go through your lives and not worry about it. Because sometimes that peace kind of oozes out, doesn't it? And now you're poor in spirit again. Now you got to really get back on track. Now you got to say, okay, God, I kind of haven't been paying attention to this. Can you help me get back to that state of peace again? How do we get into that state of peace? Many of you come here every first Tuesday of the month. So many of you are frequent visitors here. You know the answer, right? We know that one of the best places to get peace is from the Prince of Peace himself. When we're in front of the Blessed Sacrament and Holy Hour, things kind of do melt away, don't they? And I think this is a kind of a mini retreat that we can go on every month. We know the secret. A lot of people out there who might not think about coming here, they might not recognize the fact that this is really where it's at. And whether it's in front of the Lord or coming to Mass and receiving Him in the Eucharist, He's inside of us. Now He can really work within us to bring us that inner peace that we need. prayer time, whatever form our prayer takes, and if we're praying something like the rosary, to really treat it as a great aid to meditation, which really it should be, or the Chapel of Divine Mercy, but any kind of prayer, that we're spending that time away from the noise, inner peace, because that inner peace can only come from God. He's the only one who can give it to us. Jesus said, John chapter 14, verse 27, peace I leave you, peace I give you, not as the world gives peace, do I give it to you. It doesn't come from the world, it comes from God, and it can be inside of us. Which brings us to that next very important part of the Beatitudes, blessed are the peacemakers. We don't keep that peace just bottled up inside of ourselves. It's not just for us. It's for us to go out into the world and make peace. Bring that power of Christ's peace out to our brothers and sisters who so desperately need it. Interesting. Those who bring peace, whether peacemakers, are called the children of God. We become children of God at our baptism. We're baptized. Many babies come through here. I've come through here recently. We've done a lot of baptisms. Each and every one of them, I always tell the parents, your child now has gotten a mission for the rest of his or her life to go out into the world and to evangelize, to preach the good word, but to bring peace and unity to the world in the gifts that each one of us has. We can't do that until we first have inner peace. So from inner peace comes the external peace, that power of God that we can share with one another and do, what we need to do, which is to bring about unity, bring about a world where there's forgiveness and understanding. And the peace that the world thinks about is, two people sort of off in their corners. There's no hostility, so that must be peace, right? No, that's not unity. Unity is when we're coming together and we're giving of ourselves to each other, as Jesus did on the cross, always giving of ourselves, always saying internal peace leads to external peace. And this is our mission, that we are continually giving out of love, out of charity to each other to bring about peace. And the world will sometimes hate us for it, because there are a lot of different paths that people will think that we can take to peace, and different solutions that people will have. And when those solutions don't involve God, they're not really solutions at all. They're only temporary, and they really don't work. But when God is a part of our solution of peace, since he is peace, and Jesus is the Prince of Peace, well, then miracles happen. We become the healing members of the body of Christ, healing each other in this great peace that we can bring to each other as peacemakers. The world can't understand it, but sometimes the world has difficulty understanding Jesus, the Lord, who gave himself on the cross for our sake, so that we could be with God and each other eternally in peace, in unity. That's where we're headed. And that's that great power. Amazing things can happen when we trust in the Lord to give us the inner peace, so that we may then bring external peace to everyone around us, even our enemies. And so tonight, we take that great opportunity once again to be before Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, listening to him. He's helping us to take that path of peace that we need in our lives, those places where we need to drive out the darkness, as we heard in that song. We're not Atlas. We're not destined to have to hold up the skies on our own. We don't have to do that. When we feel like there's that pressure on us and we just can't reach that inner peace, know that God is with us, helping us, guiding us, telling us, take that time. Sometimes you need 5 minutes, sometimes you need 5 days, whatever it might be. Spend that time with the Lord and allow his peace to enter into us, because it is so powerful and so needed. So tonight, as we contemplate this, may Christ's peace be with each and every one of you. It's the great power of peace that is the great gift that begins within us and then can be transmitted externally to each other. Because the world can't give it, but the world so desperately needs it.